Hello and welcome
to the 11th module of the unit devoted to Guy Brousseau and the theory of didactical situations in mathematics in the project ICMI Awarded Multimedia Online Resources. To conclude this unit, in this module, we will make a link between the theory of mathematical situation and the theory of didactical situations in mathematics within the theory of situations. In the previous module, 2 to 10, we have worked on the theory of mathematical situations. It was our choice to develop this most original part of Brousseau's work. Theory of didactical situations is another part of Brousseau theory that might have an intersection with theory of mathematical situation, in particular with the concept of a didactical situation. Theory of situations as a whole includes both aspects. In this unit, to show the importance of knowledge in the theory of situations, we have developed the epistemological core of this theory, the theory of mathematical situations, which studies how knowledge is constructed and justified in societies and among individuals. In the context of situation theory, the term situation is a generic term that denotes the model of interaction between the subject and its environment. Didactical situations refer to a situation in which there is an intention to teach and therefore bring together teacher, student, and knowledge. Generally speaking, the usefulness of knowledge is revealed in situations which are not constructed for teaching purposes, but which exist in everyday life, at work, in mathematics, etc. The didactic problem that then arises is to create the conditions for the usefulness of knowledge. These conditions of usefulness are at the heart of the study of a fundamental situation within the framework of theory of mathematical situation, but their implementation in a didactic situation requires a different type of study. Brousseau has named a didactic situation the situation resulting from this research process. It is conceived at the core of a didactic situation and aims to enable the most appropriate subject-milieu interactions modeled by the mathematical situation. The quality of the didactic situation, that is, its properties for the acquisition of the intended knowledge, is not purely theoretical. It involves didactic engineering and experimental observations. We will now briefly describe the elements that compose the didactic situation. At the heart of this situation, as we have just said, is the interaction between an actant and a milieu from which the situational knowledge emerges, what we have just called the adidactic situation. In the adidactic situation, the student can, for a time, assume the position of an actant in relation to a milieu only. The teacher is responsible for teaching, that is, the link between situational knowledge and the intended institutional knowledge. That is, he is responsible for the link between situational knowledge and the institutional knowledge that is being targeted. The teacher may choose to set up an adidactic situation in order to represent the meaning of the knowledge at stake. However, these are not the only components of the didactic situation. Brousseau has coined another concept, the didactic contract. The interpretation of the questions asked, the information provided, and the constraints imposed are constants in the teacher's way of teaching. These specific habits of the teacher, expected by the student, and the behavior of the student expected by the teacher, This is the didactical contract. We will say no more about this concept, which has been studied extensively, for example, in the reference to the case of Gaël. In the previous modules, in the framework of the theory of mathematical situations, we have introduced the difference between situational and institutional knowledge and two processes, institutionalization and transposition. In the following slides, we will show how these processes are modified in the theory of didactical situation. In the theory of mathematical situations, we have considered the transformation of institutional knowledge into situational knowledge as a transposition. This was the point of view of the research that aimed to look for the situational knowledge and the fundamental situation that represent the meaning of a given institutional knowledge. In the didactical situation, we consider that this work of transposition research has already been carried out by a researcher, by the teacher, by authors of resources, etc. The mathematical situation that represents the meaning of knowledge can therefore be installed as a didactical situation. This process of installing a didactical situation in a didactical situation has been called devolution by Brousseau. In the theory of mathematical situations, we have considered the transformation of situational knowledge into institutional knowledge as an institutionalization. This was the point of view of a research that aimed to control that situational pieces of knowledge encountered in situation can represent an adequate transposition of a determined institutional knowledge. In the didactical situation, we consider that this work of institutionalization as a work of transposition control research has already been carried out. The teacher, therefore, thinks that he can in some way trust the situation he is setting up, which may be partly an didactic situation. The student knows that the teacher is asking him to engage in this situation in order to teach him knowledge. This certainty on the part of the student about the expectation of the teacher is part of the didactical contract. The gradual transformation of situational knowledge into institutional knowledge is therefore the responsibility of the teacher. Brousseau has called this process institutionalization. We therefore have two single terms, institutionalization, to designate two processes whose aim is different depending on whether we're dealing with the theory of mathematical situations or the theory of didactical situations. Brousseau's work is situated within the framework of mathematics, although many of the concepts product in the theory may have general implication, for example, didactical contract, devolution, institutionalization, and so on, and may be considered within a more general theory of situations. Brousseau was clearly aware of this. In 2000, in Mexico, he made an important comment about this. To accept from the outset the idea of a prior general didactics seems to me to exclude from the study everything that is specific to didactics. That is why the theory of situations begins with the study and modeling of didactic situations specific to a given field of knowledge. In this module, we have tried to convey the richness and originality of Guy Brousseau's work and his essential contribution to the field of mathematical didactics and generally to mathematics education. For Annie Besseau and myself, this work has been a 5-year adventure, and we have learned a great deal by trying to share Guy Brousseau's work with others. It's with great emotion that we close this unit, as Guy has just passed away. This theory currently represents a very active research framework at an international level. Researchers in many countries are pursuing and extending this work in many directions, including the characterization of the structure and coherence of ordinary teaching situations, and the study of fundamental situations concerning knowledge taught at levels other than primary school. We hope that this module has inspired you to study the work of Guy Brousseau.
Thank you.
The unit devoted to Guy Brousseau is now complete.